Hello guys, welcome to Scene for Wrist. I'm your host. Last time I showed you my perfect watches, which were Rolex Explorer 2, reference 16570, and this Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch, reference 145.022. Today I want to share the story behind this Speedmaster as I bought it through eBay. As with all online purchases, there are certain worries when pulling the final trigger on the watch you've been after. In my case, initially I won the watch for slightly more than £2, of course. When the watch arrived, I noticed various flaws like service bezel, service chronograph hand, and the chronograph not working properly. I was ready to send the watch back to the owner and request a full refund. However, after a long email chain with the owner, we agreed a refund of £600 to cover all the necessary servicing costs. Honestly, it was a bit of a gamble because I had no idea what's gonna happen when I hand over the Speedy to watchmakers for professional inspection. I could always back out of the deal and just send it straight back to the owner. However, I decided to give it a go. When it comes to vintage watches, the repair bill can be costly, as the watch and all its components like dial, hands, bezel and movement parts are more fragile than you'd expect. However, I was so excited about buying a classic Speedmaster, so I didn't care much about costs. I just wanted to pull the trigger on this one and enjoy it. Despite this watch running quite well, it needed a few parts, and the most obvious flaw was 12-hour counter at 6 o'clock, which was not resetting to its original 12 o'clock position. And when the watch was inspected by professional watchmakers, I was advised the movement would require a full service, which is basically dismantling all parts, cleaning and re-lubricating them, so that the movement inside this watch is totally fine and can last for years and I can properly enjoy it. Besides the full service, they had to replace one faulty part in it, which I was okay with because that was my decision to keep the watch and do it as properly as possible to make it like new. Maybe not like new, but make it usable again. Besides overhauling the movement, I had all the dust and all dirt removed from around the glass, dial and the case, because the whole watch was covered in 30-year-old dirt, which is really unpleasant to look at. So that was the obvious procedure to do whilst we were fully servicing the watch. I also noticed that the glass was badly scratched with different chips and dents inside. I decided to have it replaced with a new one. Bear in mind that original Speedmasters feature a plexiglass called Hasselite glass, which is basically a domed piece of plastic, and due to this fact it is prone to collecting various scratches. One of the advisories I received was polishing. However, as the watch is from 70s, I was not bothered about its perfect look. Historical blemishes, scratches, they simply add character to the watch, so they are staying with me for now. And as you can see, there are different scratches on it, on the surface. I kept them all. I wasn't bothered about anything, so all the scratches on this watch, they stayed on it. And yeah, even though the bezel has been replaced for a service one, I agreed to buy it with this bezel. It doesn't bother me at all. I quite like it actually. I like it more to the bigger font, old version of this bezel. So that's why I kept it on. I'm so glad to have this stunner bag. The worst part of buying this timepiece was that I knew I would need to send it off to be properly overhauled before I could enjoy it on my wrist. And that was a bit painful because when you buy a luxury watch, you want to wear it immediately. So you probably get my excitement when I got this watch back. Roughly the whole process took a few weeks due to massive delays from Omega on receiving the parts for this movement. As far as I remember, the bill I had to pay was just under £500, so luckily I can say that it was all covered by the refund I received from the seller of this watch, so the gamble, it was worth it after all. Despite I am happy with this purchase, it was a huge risk. What I want to tell you today is that whenever you buy a watch online from someone, please do assume the worst case scenario when negotiating a deal. With all vintage watches, not just Omega, but also Rolex, Patek Philippe, it's extremely easy to overlook the underlying problems that you'll stumble upon after a while. You need to be careful with any replaced parts like this Speedmaster that has a later bezel fitted or a chronograph hand replaced. Make sure that you are aware of them and you make a conscious decision when buying such timepiece. Also, the very important thing, make sure the bracelet that is with this watch is original and period correct. I think bracelet, that would be the biggest cost to cover, and it's always good to have as original watch as possible. However, in this case I think it was rather a rushed purchase. However, I am still happy to have this watch and wear it every day. As for the ticking heart of a vintage watch, always assume it needs a service. Try to obtain a rough quote for servicing prior to bidding or negotiating a deal. In my case, I managed to get a partial refund for the watch after I received it from the seller. It was sufficient enough to cover the whole bill. Full service, new glass and proper clean of the whole watch throughout, not polishing, of course. The watch wasn't polished by me. After all you want is to have a great watch that makes you smile for as long as you own it and enjoy on your wrist. So this is the story behind this watch. I can now fully appreciate it and wear it. That's a stunning watch. I love it. I really love this watch. I love it to death. I think that's it for today, guys. Please like, subscribe to Seen Through Wrist and stay tuned for more. Bye.